Every decision inside the submarine was a gamble with history itself. The vessel, a steel leviathan built for stealth and endurance, sliced through the Atlantic's vast expanse with a singular, unprecedented objective: reach the eastern coast of America undetected. On board, a small group of men bore the weight of a mission whose success could have altered the global balance of World War II. They carried critical intelligence, sabotage equipment, and the hope that their journey would strike at the heart of the Allied war machine. Failure meant annihilation. Success could rewrite the trajectory of the conflict. The crew was acutely aware of the stakes, yet the enormity of their task seemed almost intangible, hovering in every whispered instruction and calculated maneuver. The planning had been meticulous for months. German high command had pored over every conceivable risk, crafting a strategy that combined endurance, stealth, and tactical precision. The submarine itself had been modified beyond any standard design. Additional fuel tanks extended its range, reinforced hulls allowed dives to extreme depths, and state-of-the-art navigational equipment ensured accuracy across thousands of miles of open ocean. Communications were minimal, heavily encrypted, and only employed when absolutely necessary, reducing the risk of interception. Each crew member knew that any lapse, however small, could compromise not just the mission, but the strategic advantage the operation was intended to achieve. The Atlantic was a domain of both opportunity and danger. Its vastness allowed the submarine to hide, yet it also presented unpredictable challenges. Currents shifted without warning. Hidden sandbanks and underwater ridges threatened the vessel's delicate maneuvering, and storms could strike with brutal force. The crew's every move required precision, their training and instinct tested continuously. They monitored gauges, ballast, and engine output with an intensity born of necessity, aware that any mechanical failure could spell doom thousands of miles from friendly waters. The environment itself seemed to conspire against them, a reminder that survival required both skill and endurance. Even under extreme stress, the human element defined the mission's success. Officers and enlisted men relied on each other in ways that blurred the lines between authority and mutual dependence. Each role, navigator, engineer, communication officer, helmsman, was vital, and mistakes could cascade into disaster. Tension was ever present, yet discipline and trust created a fragile equilibrium that held the crew together. Routine became ritual, measuring fuel consumption, calibrating instruments, monitoring depth, and scanning the horizon for signs of enemy detection. Every small task carried immense significance, and the consequences of failure were omnipresent. Encounters with Allied forces tested both nerve and ingenuity. Patrol vessels and reconnaissance aircraft prowled the Atlantic relentlessly, and sonar sweeps could detect even subtle movements beneath the waves. The submarine had to operate within a narrow margin of error, evading detection while maintaining speed and direction. In one harrowing instance, a destroyer suddenly altered course toward the U-boat. The captain's split-second decision to dive to maximum depth while adjusting ballast and maintaining heading required flawless coordination. The tension was suffocating, yet the crew executed their roles with precision, their training and mutual understanding tested to the limit. Strategic intelligence heightened the mission's complexity. Commanders in Berlin anticipated vulnerabilities along the American coast and relied on the submarine to deliver agents and equipment that could disrupt Allied supply lines and gather critical information. The crew carried sensitive materials, each package a potential pivot point in a global conflict. Knowing that failure would not only result in death but also the loss of these assets weighed heavily on every sailor. The stakes extended beyond individual survival. The mission had the potential to influence industrial output, troop movements, and the broader strategy of both Allied and Axis powers. The physical and mental strain on the crew was relentless. Confined within steel walls and limited space, men endured long hours of vigilance, extreme temperatures, and constant threat of depth charges or mechanical failure. The hum of engines, the creak of the hull, and the occasional tremor of the ocean became constant companions. Each day demanded unwavering concentration, with minimal opportunity for rest. Officers rotated watches, engineers maintained propulsion systems, and navigators plotted courses with unerring accuracy. Even small errors, miscalculating a current, misreading a sonar echo, or mistiming ballast adjustments could prove fatal. The crew's resilience was as much psychological as it was physical. Isolation magnified fear, yet the men found ways to maintain focus and morale. Whispered conversations, shared stories of home, and quiet moments of camaraderie became anchors in the otherwise claustrophobic and tense environment. Rituals emerged, checking instruments in tandem, double-confirming coordinates, and rehearsing emergency procedures. These routines were not mere formalities, they were survival mechanisms. Trust in each other became a lifeline, binding individuals into a collective capable of withstanding both the ocean's fury and the enemy's reach. Navigating toward the American coast required a combination of intelligence, intuition, and audacity. Commanders had mapped out a route that avoided heavily patrolled shipping lanes, used underwater channels to minimize detection, and timed surfacing to verify position and assess the environment. The submarine's gyro compass and advanced charts were indispensable, yet the crew relied equally on skill and observation. Every nautical mile brought new uncertainty. Civilian and military vessels, coastal radar, and natural obstacles created a complex and ever-changing operational landscape. Success demanded constant adaptation and precision. Despite meticulous planning, the unpredictable nature of the mission kept tension at a peak. Weather patterns shifted, ocean currents fluctuated, and distant ships altered patrol routes, requiring instant recalibration. Crew members operated under unrelenting pressure, knowing that any misstep could trigger enemy response and end the mission. Drills for emergency scenarios were executed repeatedly. Rapid dives, evasive maneuvers, and system overrides. Engineers worked tirelessly to maintain propulsion and ballast under extreme conditions. Navigators recalculated trajectories, ensuring that the submarine remained on course despite external challenges. Every action contributed to survival, yet each was shadowed by the possibility of catastrophe. The human factor defined operational success as much as mechanical reliability. Officers and enlisted men relied on intuition, experience, and shared understanding to navigate situations that no manual could prepare them for. The captain's decisions had immediate consequences, requiring input and precise execution from every crew member. Engineers monitored engines and systems for subtle signs of strain or failure. Navigators interpreted incomplete data and made instantaneous judgments about currents, drift, and enemy positions. Even minor errors could result in detection, sinking, or mission compromise, underscoring the delicate balance between human skill and technological capability. The submarine's approach to American waters intensified the stakes. Coastal defenses, radar installations, and shipping traffic created a dynamic and hostile environment. Crew members scanned the horizon, monitored sonar, and adjusted ballast and speed to avoid detection. Intelligence gathered from previous reconnaissance was crucial, yet unpredictable variables demanded constant vigilance. Every decision could determine whether the submarine reached its objective or became yet another casualty in the Atlantic. The knowledge that their actions could directly affect the broader course of the war created a silent urgency that permeated every action and observation. By mid-journey, the psychological strain became as formidable as the physical challenges. Days of confinement, minimal food, and constant alertness tested resilience. Crew members had to maintain focus on repetitive but critical tasks, from checking fuel and oxygen levels to scanning the horizon for potential threats. Collaboration and trust were essential. A single misstep could not only end the mission but also cost the lives of all on board. Yet even under this pressure, the crew adapted, demonstrating remarkable ingenuity and endurance. Small victories, successful evasions, accurate navigation, and steady mechanical performance reinforced their confidence and kept the mission moving forward. The mission exemplified the intersection of human courage and technological innovation. The submarine, a marvel of engineering, depended entirely on the precision, skill, and composure of those operating it. Each crew member was both an individual and part of a larger organism, their actions synchronized to ensure survival and mission success. The vessel's stealth capabilities, advanced navigation, and reinforced construction were rendered meaningless without human oversight, judgment, and decision-making. In essence, the mission was as much a test of character as of machinery, with survival dependent on seamless integration of both. As the U-boat closed in on its objective, every crew member understood the fragility of their position. Success required uninterrupted focus, unwavering discipline, and unerring judgment. Any detection could result in the destruction of the submarine and the exposure of critical intelligence. The Atlantic had become both a pathway and a gauntlet, demanding perfection in navigation, endurance, and collaboration. Yet the crew pressed forward, guided by the mission's urgency and the knowledge that the operation could influence the trajectory of a global conflict. Every hour beneath the waves and across open water reinforced the reality that this mission was unlike any other. It was a delicate dance of timing, skill, and courage, where human ingenuity and mechanical precision intersected in life-or-death scenarios. The crew's commitment to the mission, honed through weeks of preparation and constant vigilance, became a testament to the extraordinary pressures and responsibilities of clandestine warfare. The outcome of this voyage, though still uncertain, would have ramifications far beyond the confines of the submarine, reaching to the very shores they aimed to strike. The crew had been at sea for weeks, navigating waters that stretched endlessly and offered no mercy for error. The tension within the submarine had evolved into a persistent awareness, an unspoken understanding that any miscalculation could compromise the mission or cost lives instantly. While the vessel's hull creaked and engines thrummed, the men maintained their posts with an intensity that bordered on obsession. Every control panel, every gauge, and every sound of the ocean became a critical element to interpret. Even a minor vibration or subtle change in water pressure could signal danger or opportunity, and the ability to read such cues had become the difference between survival and catastrophe. They were entering a region notorious for Allied patrols, a stretch of ocean that demanded absolute precision. Reports from intelligence suggested that radar arrays and sonar sweeps had increased, complicating the approach to the American coastline. The captain held briefings in whispered tones, detailing routes, possible contingencies, and protocols for detection. Crew members memorized multiple layers of navigational data, internalizing complex sequences that allowed them to alter course instantly without alerting enemy forces. Their training, rigorous and repetitive, now proved indispensable. Every man on board understood that the mission required more than endurance. It demanded flawless execution under extreme stress. Mechanics and engineers worked tirelessly to maintain the submarine's delicate systems. Propulsion engines were monitored continuously to prevent mechanical anomalies, while ballast tanks were calibrated for optimal depth control. Small malfunctions, undetectable without constant scrutiny, could become disastrous if left unchecked. Engineers moved with deliberate precision through narrow corridors, adjusting valves, examining wiring, and fine-tuning controls, all while accounting for the submarine's movements and the ocean's unpredictable currents. Each adjustment had to be perfectly synchronized with the actions of the navigators and the captain's strategic decisions, highlighting the intricate coordination required for operational success. The submarine's interior was claustrophobic, with barely enough space for the crew to maneuver. Confined quarters amplified both camaraderie and tension. Small mistakes, minor disagreements, or lapses in focus had consequences far beyond interpersonal friction. They could jeopardize the mission. Crew members developed unspoken rhythms, understanding each other's habits and anticipating needs before they were verbalized. This silent coordination was essential. It allowed them to respond instantly to unforeseen threats and maintain operational efficiency despite exhaustion, stress, and fear. Navigational challenges intensified as they neared areas with increased shipping activity. Merchant vessels, military convoys, and patrolling destroyers required constant calculation of speed, depth, and trajectory. The captain relied on a combination of intelligence reports, previous observations, and instinct to choose routes that minimized exposure. Even with meticulous planning, uncertainty remained. Each maneuver carried risk, yet hesitation was not an option. The men executed each course adjustment with precision, knowing that detection could result in immediate depth charge attacks and the potential destruction of the submarine. Communication was sparse and deliberate. Every signal sent or received was encoded with the utmost care, ensuring that enemy interception would reveal nothing. The crew monitored all transmissions with a vigilance that bordered on obsession, aware that a single breach could compromise the entire mission. Radio operators worked in shifts, decoding messages, preparing countersignals, and remaining alert to the possibility of incoming directives from command. This constant vigilance underscored the precarious balance between operational secrecy and tactical necessity. Despite the ever-present threat, moments of human connection emerged, however fleeting. During brief breaks, men whispered stories from home, exchanged letters that had survived the journey, or shared memories of family, friends, and loved ones. These moments reinforced the crew's sense of purpose, reminding them of what they fought for beyond the immediate mission. They also reinforced trust, as mutual dependence in such confined, high-stakes conditions forged bonds stronger than most outside the submarine could comprehend. As they approached critical operational zones, tension reached a peak. The submarine was required to maneuver through channels patrolled heavily by destroyers equipped with sonar, radar, and aerial reconnaissance support. Every decision regarding speed, depth, and heading carried life-or-death consequences. The navigators continuously recalculated positions, factoring in currents, drift, and enemy patrol patterns. Engineers adjusted ballast systems to maintain optimal depth and stability, while the captain made instantaneous tactical decisions based on incomplete and constantly changing information. Coordination was absolute. The vessel functioned as a single entity, each man contributing to its survival and mission success. Unexpected challenges tested their resilience further. Harsh weather could push them off course. Unexpected patrol patterns demanded immediate adaptation, and minor mechanical anomalies required immediate attention. The crew responded with a combination of skill, experience, and intuition. Engineers performed delicate repairs under pressure, navigators recalculated complex routes, and officers coordinated with seamless precision. Each member's role, though distinct, was interconnected, creating a system that balanced human judgment and technological capability under extreme conditions. The mission's objective added an additional layer of tension. The submarine carried highly sensitive materials intended to disrupt Allied infrastructure and gather intelligence critical to the Axis war effort. Each package represented potential leverage over industrial production, troop movement, and the broader strategic landscape. The men were acutely aware that failure could mean not only their deaths but also the loss of crucial resources and information. This awareness intensified focus, as every action, adjustment, and calculation had a direct impact on the mission's success. Morale was constantly tested. The monotony of confined space, the relentless demands of vigilance, and the awareness of potential death created psychological strain. Officers monitored crew well-being, encouraged communication, and facilitated brief moments of respite, while each man relied on discipline and camaraderie to sustain performance. Trust in leadership and mutual dependence among crew members were critical. Even minor lapses in focus or cooperation could lead to catastrophic outcomes. As the submarine entered proximity with American waters, the risks escalated dramatically. Coastal patrols, radar installations, and maritime traffic required meticulous navigation and precise timing. The captain devised maneuvers to minimize exposure, including controlled surfacing for observation, careful depth adjustments, and synchronization with prearranged intelligence checkpoints. These operations demanded coordination across all crew roles, from engineers and navigators to officers and lookouts. Any misstep could expose the submarine to immediate detection, jeopardizing both the vessel and the mission's objectives. Pressure intensified with each passing hour. The crew maintained an almost inhuman level of focus, executing repetitive but critical tasks while remaining alert to subtle environmental cues. Currents, sonar pings, and distant vessel movements were interpreted instantaneously, dictating immediate tactical responses. Engineers monitored propulsion systems for anomalies, navigators verified coordinates against charts and drift, and officers maintained situational awareness to direct course adjustments. This constant interplay of observation, calculation, and action became a rhythm of survival, with precision and timing holding the line between success and disaster. The psychological dynamic on board was complex. Isolation, confinement, and extreme stakes fostered tension, Yet these same conditions strengthened camaraderie. Crew members developed unspoken communication, anticipating each other's needs and responses, allowing for seamless execution under pressure. Leadership emphasized coordination and trust, understanding that technical proficiency alone was insufficient. The human element, resilience, judgment, and mutual support, was as critical as mechanical reliability. As days passed in relentless pursuit of their objective, the crew's endurance was tested continuously. Fatigue, hunger, and constant alertness challenged both body and mind. Yet the men adapted, establishing routines that balanced operational necessity with minimal sustenance, rest, and morale maintenance. They practiced emergency protocols, monitored mechanical systems, and maintained vigilance against enemy detection, all while navigating unpredictable environmental conditions. Each small success reinforced confidence and cohesion, preparing them for the mission's final and most perilous phase. The Atlantic, a vast theater of both concealment and danger, became a proving ground for human endurance and tactical mastery. The submarine, a fusion of engineering excellence and human skill, relied entirely on the crew's discipline and coordination. Every decision, adjustment, and observation was intertwined with survival, demonstrating the delicate balance between technology and human judgment. As the submarine neared the American coast, the mission's culmination loomed large. The crew had to execute flawlessly under conditions of intense scrutiny, uncertainty, and risk, knowing that failure would be both immediate and irreversible. The proximity to American shores transformed tension into an almost tangible force. Each crew member knew that the final leg of the journey demanded a level of precision and vigilance unmatched by any previous operation. Every observation, every adjustment of depth and speed, carried immediate consequences. The submarine's path was fraught with hidden dangers. Minefields, anti-submarine patrols, and unpredictable maritime traffic that could reveal their presence in an instant. The captain convened silent briefings, reviewing multiple scenarios and contingency plans, ensuring that each man understood his role if detection occurred. Their mission was no longer abstract. It was imminent, palpable, and dangerous. The approach required balancing stealth with the urgency of completing the operation. Surfacing, even briefly, could provide necessary visual verification of navigation points, yet the risks were enormous. Radar detection, aircraft overhead, and the presence of naval convoys created an environment where a single mistake could spell disaster. Crew members moved in synchrony, executing adjustments to ballast, propulsion, and course with unerring accuracy. Each maneuver was a calculated gamble, executed with the awareness that the entire mission and their lives depended on flawless execution. Equipment integrity became paramount. The submarine systems, pushed to their operational limits, required constant attention. Engineers monitored every gauge, valve, and control panel with meticulous care, correcting minor anomalies before they could escalate. Any failure in propulsion, ballast, or navigation could compromise stealth, leaving the submarine vulnerable to depth charges and enemy interception. The men worked in near silence, their concentration absolute, knowing that even a minor error in judgment or technique could have catastrophic consequences. The crew's psychological endurance was tested as never before. Days of confinement, high stress, and anticipation had heightened emotions to an almost unbearable degree. Moments of fear, frustration, and doubt emerged, yet these were tempered by discipline and camaraderie. Officers maintained morale through clear instructions and calculated encouragement, while the men relied on silent coordination and mutual trust to navigate the challenges. Even under extreme pressure, they demonstrated remarkable adaptability, turning tension into focused action and instinct into survival. Navigators were particularly critical during this phase. Currents shifted unexpectedly, and hidden coastal formations complicated standard calculations. Each adjustment required cross-referencing multiple instruments, factoring in drift, and anticipating enemy movements. One minor miscalculation could expose the vessel or delay the mission. Navigators worked with unceasing attention, their decisions informed by both technical training and experience, ensuring that every mile brought the submarine closer to its objective while minimizing risk. The The mission stakes became ever more apparent as intelligence packages on board were assessed. These materials, intended to disrupt Allied operations, included critical blueprints, coded communications, and operational directives. Their successful delivery could have altered troop movements, production schedules, and the strategic deployment of forces along the eastern seaboard. The weight of this responsibility pressed upon every crew member, reinforcing the importance of vigilance, precision, and coordination. The mission was no longer a theoretical exercise. Its consequences were tangible, immediate, and historically significant. Unexpected encounters heightened the crew's tension. Allied aircraft appeared on the horizon, ships changed patrol patterns without warning, and sonar pings indicated the potential presence of destroyers. Each of these events required instantaneous analysis and response. The captain made split-second decisions regarding diving depth, course alterations, and timing of surfacing maneuvers. Engineers adjusted ballast and propulsion systems in real time, while navigators recalculated positions and trajectories. Every member's role was magnified in importance. Any lapse could result in immediate detection and destruction. Resource management remained a constant concern. Fuel, oxygen, and essential supplies were finite, and prolonged engagement in hostile waters amplified the stakes. Engineers and officers monitored consumption rates meticulously, balancing operational requirements with conservation strategies. Crew members understood that efficiency and prudence could mean the difference between completing the mission and being stranded in hostile waters. Each calculated adjustment, each careful rationing of resources, contributed to survival and mission success. Communication remained tightly controlled. Encoded messages were exchanged sparingly to avoid interception, yet the need for updates and coordination with command persisted. Radio operators monitored frequencies and decoded incoming transmissions, ensuring that the submarine maintained alignment with broader operational objectives. The crew understood that every message carried potential risk, yet careful handling allowed them to balance intelligence needs with operational security. Even as tension mounted, small human rituals persisted. Crew members shared brief moments of camaraderie, whispered conversations, and subtle gestures that reinforced trust and cohesion. These interactions, though fleeting, were vital in maintaining psychological resilience under extreme conditions. Mutual dependence was essential. The success of the mission required each individual to function flawlessly within the collective, yet the human element, the ability to encourage, anticipate, and support one another, remained the glue holding the operation together. The submarine's technological systems were pushed to extremes. Sensors, navigation arrays, propulsion units, and ballast controls were continuously monitored and adjusted. The margin for error was infinitesimal. Even a minor anomaly could cascade into operational failure. Engineers moved methodically through confined corridors, recalibrating instruments and monitoring every function with obsessive precision. Each adjustment was a blend of technical skill and instinctive judgment, executed under the constant pressure of imminent threat. As they drew closer to the American coastline, environmental conditions became increasingly challenging. Shallow waters limited maneuverability, while increased traffic from merchant ships and patrol vessels complicated navigation. Currents were unpredictable, and underwater topography presented hazards that demanded constant attention. The crew executed maneuvers with a level of coordination that had been honed through weeks of high-stakes practice. Each decision, when to surface briefly, how to adjust depth, and which course to take, required consensus and flawless execution, emphasizing the interdependence of human skill and mechanical capability. The mission's climax approached with relentless intensity. Every crew member understood that the operation's final phase demanded both perfection and courage. Detection would not only compromise the mission but likely result in catastrophic loss of life. Officers maintained rigorous oversight, guiding the crew through complex maneuvers and ensuring that each adjustment, every observation, and each calculation contributed to the ultimate objective. The crew's synchronization and trust were paramount, transforming the submarine from a mechanical vessel into a cohesive, responsive organism capable of navigating the hazards ahead. The psychological stakes mirrored the operational ones. Fatigue, hunger, and continuous alertness threatened to erode judgment, Yet discipline, mutual support, and the clarity of the mission's purpose sustained performance. Crew members relied on instinct shaped by rigorous training, responding with precision to every cue from instruments, sonar, and environmental conditions. Leadership reinforced focus, adapting strategies and providing guidance in real time, ensuring that even under extreme duress, the crew remained coordinated and effective. Navigators faced heightened complexity as they approached areas with dense shipping lanes and coastal defenses. Precision timing became critical, with each adjustment potentially determining whether the submarine remained undetected or was exposed to enemy attack. Calculations accounted for currents, drift, sonar echoes, and unexpected obstacles, demanding absolute concentration. The crew executed maneuvers with seamless coordination, demonstrating the integration of human skill, mechanical reliability, and strategic acumen required for success. Every action was amplified by the knowledge that the outcome could influence the broader war effort. The intelligence on board, the potential disruption of supply lines, and the opportunity to gather critical operational information elevated the mission from a tactical exercise to a historically significant endeavor. Crew members internalized the gravity of their responsibility, understanding that each decision, each adjustment, and each response to environmental and enemy variables had implications far beyond the confines of the submarine. As the submarine approached its designated drop zones and reconnaissance points, tension reached a climax. The crew executed calculated surfacing maneuvers to visually confirm positions, adjusted depth and speed to evade patrols, and synchronized all operations to maintain stealth. Every role, officer, engineer, navigator, and operator, was integral to the operation's success. The cohesion, trust, and skill developed over weeks of high-stakes navigation now determined the mission's immediate fate, emphasizing the profound interconnection between human judgment and technological precision in extreme circumstances. The submarine glided through the Atlantic, a silent predator in a vast expanse of water that concealed both opportunity and peril. As they neared the operational zone, tension escalated to a level that was almost physical. Every sensor reading, every sonar ping, and every subtle vibration of the hull became a potential warning or clue. The captain maintained a calm exterior, but internally he calculated scenarios with precision, evaluating how the submarine could evade the increasingly dense Allied surveillance. The crew, trained to interpret these nuances instinctively, worked in synchrony, each member anticipating the next movement before it was required. Navigational challenges multiplied as the vessel approached shallow coastal waters. The submarine's draft had to be meticulously controlled, and depth adjustments executed with perfect timing. Currents shifted unpredictably, and charts, while detailed, could not account for sudden environmental anomalies. Navigators recalculated constantly, cross-referencing multiple sources and factoring in both historical data and real-time observations. One misstep would risk detection, potentially compromising the mission and the crew's lives. Every operational system was under scrutiny. Engineers monitored propulsion units, ballast tanks, and pressure systems with relentless attention. Even minor irregularities could escalate into catastrophic failure in waters where exposure would be deadly. Crew members performed continuous maintenance routines, balancing operational necessity with vigilance against environmental hazards and enemy forces. Their movements were precise, deliberate, and coordinated, reflecting a level of discipline that only extreme conditions could forge. The psychological intensity on board was palpable. Confined spaces, limited contact with the outside world, and the omnipresent threat of detection created an atmosphere of high stress. Officers implemented strategies to maintain morale and focus, encouraging brief mental breaks and fostering a sense of shared purpose. The men relied on mutual trust and communication, understanding that every action, however small, had direct consequences for the submarine's safety and the mission's success. Intelligence packages on board demanded heightened caution. These materials held the potential to alter strategic outcomes along the American eastern seaboard. Their delivery was a priority not only for operational success but also for influencing the broader war effort. The men recognized the weight of responsibility, internalizing the importance of precision, coordination, and discretion. Each calculated maneuver, each adjustment to depth or speed, was informed by the awareness that failure could negate weeks of planning and training. Unexpected threats arose, testing the crew's adaptability. Allied patrols increased, radar sweeps became more frequent, and aircraft occasionally appeared on the horizon. The submarine executed evasive maneuvers with precision, adjusting depth, course, and speed in real time. Engineers, navigators, and officers collaborated seamlessly, relying on both instinct and experience to make instantaneous decisions. This dynamic required a perfect balance of technical knowledge, human judgment, and coordination under extreme pressure. Operational procedures demanded flawless execution. Surfacing, while necessary for observation, introduced the risk of detection. Timing, angle, and environmental conditions had to align perfectly. Navigators calculated precise intervals, engineers prepared systems for immediate response, and officers monitored all variables to ensure safety. The crew operated as a single cohesive entity, each individual contributing to the submarine's responsiveness and stealth. Mistakes were not permissible, and any lapse could jeopardize the mission's most critical phase. The submarine's interior, tight and oppressive, magnified both focus and tension. Crew members developed unspoken communication, anticipating movements and decisions before verbal commands were given. This silent coordination was essential, allowing the vessel to respond fluidly to unpredictable challenges. The human element, trust, intuition, and shared experience, became as crucial as mechanical reliability. The crew's ability to function as a unified organism under constant threat underscored the extraordinary demands of submarine warfare. As they neared their designated drop points, operational stress intensified. Precision was paramount. Intelligence materials had to be delivered undetected, reconnaissance data collected, and observation of coastal defenses conducted without raising alarms. Every crew member understood the stakes, and every action was deliberate. The captain's strategic oversight ensured that decisions were calculated, timely, and adaptive to changing conditions. Engineers, navigators, and officers coordinated every aspect of the operation, demonstrating the integration of human skill and technological sophistication. Environmental variables introduced additional complexity. Ocean currents shifted unpredictably, tides affected navigational calculations, and weather phenomena, though moderate, altered visibility and acoustic conditions. These factors required continuous monitoring and rapid adjustment. Crew members remained alert, interpreting sensor data, visual observations, and environmental cues to make instantaneous decisions. The interplay of human perception, mechanical systems, and strategic calculation defined the operation's success. The submarine's mission demanded unyielding focus. Fatigue, hunger, and physical strain challenged the crew, yet discipline, rigorous training, and shared purpose sustained performance. Officers enforced protocols, engineers maintained critical systems, and navigators executed complex maneuvers. The integration of human skill and technical precision allowed the submarine to maintain stealth and operational effectiveness in a highly contested environment. Every action carried historical significance. The intelligence materials on board, the reconnaissance data collected, and the observations of enemy activity had implications far beyond the immediate mission. Crew members were acutely aware that success could influence the trajectory of the war, affecting strategic planning, resource allocation, and military operations. This understanding reinforced commitment, focus, and cohesion, driving the crew to perform at peak levels under extreme pressure. Unexpected encounters required rapid problem-solving. Allied destroyers altered patrol patterns without warning, merchant vessels moved unpredictably, and sonar pings indicated potential proximity threats. The crew responded instantly, executing evasive maneuvers, adjusting depth and speed, and recalibrating systems. Engineers performed delicate maintenance, navigators recalculated trajectories, and officers coordinated every action. The submarine functioned as an integrated organism, with each member's expertise contributing to overall survival and mission success. Morale was maintained through mutual reliance and brief moments of human connection. Shared stories, subtle humor, and supportive gestures reinforced cohesion. Even under extreme conditions, these interactions allowed the crew to manage stress, maintain focus, and sustain operational efficiency. Trust in leadership, reliance on teamwork, and the shared awareness of stakes reinforced both morale and precision. As the submarine approached the final operational zone, the tension reached its apex. Navigation had to account for densely patrolled areas, coastal defenses, and environmental challenges. Every calculation, maneuver, and observation was critical. Crew members executed their roles with meticulous care, maintaining synchronization across all systems. Engineers monitored pressure, propulsion, and ballast, while navigators and officers coordinated every decision. The culmination of training, discipline, and shared purpose defined their performance. In these final moments before critical operations, the crew's cohesion was tested as never before. Each individual's expertise, judgment, and composure contributed to the submarine's responsiveness. Communication, both verbal and unspoken, allowed for fluid decision-making. The human element, reinforced by shared experience and rigorous training, enabled the crew to navigate extreme hazards while maintaining operational effectiveness. Every action, adjustment, and observation carried profound significance. The submarine's trajectory now positioned it for the mission's decisive phase. Coordination across all roles ensured that intelligence delivery, reconnaissance, and observation would be executed without compromise. Crew members were acutely aware that any deviation from protocol could result in detection, mission failure, or loss of life. Their focus, skill, and mutual trust allowed them to operate under conditions of immense pressure, demonstrating the extraordinary demands of underwater warfare in the Atlantic. The final phase of the mission demanded absolute precision. Every crew member understood that the hours ahead would test not only skill and endurance, but also the cohesion and resilience that had carried them through weeks of high-stakes navigation. As the submarine approached its designated target zone, tension coiled like a living thing within the vessel. Each sensor reading, each sonar ping, and every subtle vibration of the hull required instant interpretation. The crew moved with deliberate coordination, executing maneuvers in silence, relying on the trust and discipline forged under relentless pressure. Reaching the drop points required navigating increasingly shallow waters, where even minor miscalculations could reveal their presence to vigilant patrols. Navigators recalculated constantly, incorporating subtle changes in currents, unexpected obstacles, and the influence of coastal topography. The captain's decisions were precise, informed by real-time observation and historical intelligence. Every adjustment of speed, depth, or course was critical, and the entire crew functioned as a synchronized organism, each member anticipating the next move instinctively. The intelligence on board was now within striking distance of its intended delivery. Documents detailing troop deployments, industrial capacities, and strategic plans were meticulously prepared for extraction. Each piece carried the potential to alter operational decisions across multiple theaters of the war. The weight of this responsibility pressed on every member of the crew, reinforcing the importance of flawless execution. The submarine's success would not only represent the culmination of a dangerous mission, but also have ramifications that extended far beyond the immediate theater. Unexpected challenges emerged in rapid succession. Patrol boats altered their patterns without warning, aircraft flew routes that had not been predicted, and sonar signals indicated possible proximity threats. The crew responded instantly, executing evasive maneuvers, adjusting depth, recalibrating systems, and maintaining operational secrecy. Engineers, navigators, and officers collaborated seamlessly, relying on both technical expertise and instinctual judgment. The vessel's performance under these conditions underscored the delicate balance between human skill and mechanical precision in extreme situations. Coordination and timing were critical. Surfacing for reconnaissance, even briefly, introduced the risk of detection. Each maneuver was calculated down to the second, accounting for patrol schedules, environmental conditions, and the precise requirements of the intelligence transfer. Officers issued clear, concise commands, while crew members executed every adjustment with deliberate care. The integration of these efforts allowed the submarine to operate effectively in a highly contested environment, maximizing stealth while accomplishing mission objectives. The psychological pressure was relentless. Days of confinement, high alert, and the constant awareness of potential danger had heightened both tension and focus. Crew members relied on subtle communication, shared understanding, and moments of reassurance to maintain composure. Trust in leadership and confidence in one another's abilities allowed the crew to operate with the precision and cohesion necessary for success. Fatigue and stress were mitigated by discipline, shared purpose, and a deep understanding of the stakes. As the submarine reached its operational point, every system was at peak efficiency. Propulsion units, ballast tanks, sensors, and navigation arrays were monitored continuously, ensuring maximum reliability. Engineers moved methodically through the vessel, addressing any minor anomaly before it could escalate. Officers coordinated every aspect of the operation, ensuring that all movements, calculations, and maneuvers contributed to mission success. The precision and discipline of the crew were amplified by their experience, training, and shared commitment. The final moments required executing complex maneuvers to deliver intelligence materials and gather reconnaissance without compromise. Crew members carried out their roles with meticulous care. Navigators plotted precise courses, engineers maintained mechanical systems, and officers oversaw the operation with a focus that balanced caution and decisiveness. Each decision, action, and observation was critical, reflecting the extraordinary demands of a mission where failure was not an option. External threats continued to challenge the submarine's passage. Merchant vessels moved unpredictably, aerial reconnaissance flights swept the area, and anti-submarine patrols altered their search patterns. The crew's ability to interpret sensor data, anticipate enemy movements, and respond instantly was tested to the maximum. The submarine operated as a single, cohesive entity, with each member's expertise contributing to survival, stealth, and mission accomplishment. Communication remained controlled and precise. Encrypted signals were exchanged sparingly to avoid interception, yet coordination with command and verification of mission parameters were essential. Radio operators maintained vigilance, ensuring that all transmissions were accurate, concise, and secure. Every message was carefully managed, balancing the need for intelligence and operational control with the imperative of remaining undetected. The human element was paramount. Moments of silent reassurance, subtle gestures of encouragement, and mutual reliance reinforced cohesion and resilience. Even in extreme conditions, the crew's trust in one another allowed them to function efficiently, making rapid decisions with clarity and confidence. This combination of technical skill, psychological endurance, and interpersonal cohesion enabled the submarine to navigate the final operational challenges with precision and effectiveness. As the intelligence transfer was executed, the magnitude of the accomplishment became apparent. Documents, observations, and reconnaissance data were secured, positioned for immediate impact on strategic planning. The operation had succeeded against overwhelming odds, demonstrating the crew's ability to integrate human judgment, technical expertise, and coordinated effort under extreme conditions. The successful completion of this mission would resonate across theaters of war, influencing decisions, operations, and the trajectory of the conflict. Environmental factors continued to test precision. Currents, tides, and underwater topography required constant monitoring and rapid adjustment. Crew members maintained vigilance, interpreting data from instruments and visual observations to ensure continued operational effectiveness. Every adjustment, every decision, and every action contributed to sustaining stealth, achieving objectives, and safeguarding the lives of all on board. The final return journey demanded continued focus. Even after successfully completing the primary objectives, the risk of detection remained. The crew maintained operational discipline, adjusting course, depth, and speed in response to environmental and tactical factors. Engineers continued to monitor systems, navigators recalculated trajectories, and officers coordinated every movement. The crew's ability to sustain precision, focus, and coordination under continued threat underscored the extraordinary demands of their mission. As the submarine moved away from the drop zone, the weight of accomplishment began to settle among the crew. The operation had been executed with remarkable precision, and the intelligence had been delivered successfully. Yet there was no room for complacency. Remaining vigilant, maintaining stealth, and completing the return journey safely were equally critical. The men continued to operate with discipline, cohesion, and focus, ensuring that the mission's success was fully secured. The psychological relief was tempered by the awareness of what had been achieved. Each crew member recognized the historical significance of their actions, the risks they had endured, and the precision required to succeed. The mission had tested skill, endurance, and judgment to the extreme, and its successful completion reflected the extraordinary capabilities of the submarine and its crew. Upon returning to safer waters, the crew reflected on the magnitude of their operation. The intelligence had the potential to influence strategic decisions, disrupt enemy operations, and contribute to the broader war effort. The coordination, skill, and resilience displayed throughout the mission had transformed theoretical plans into tangible outcomes. The crew's shared experience, discipline, and courage ensured that the mission would be remembered not only for its operational success, but also for the human endurance and ingenuity it demanded. Even after the submarine had cleared the most immediate threats, the aftereffects of the mission resonated. The crew's unity, precision, and dedication had been tested under unprecedented circumstances. Each man had performed a critical role, contributing to a collective achievement that extended far beyond individual efforts. The operation exemplified the extraordinary demands of underwater warfare and the human capacity to adapt, endure, and succeed under extreme conditions. As the submarine approached its final safe harbor, the culmination of weeks of high-stakes navigation, strategic planning, and operational execution was complete. Every crew member understood that their actions had contributed to a mission of historical significance, demonstrating the integration of skill, courage, and precision required to influence the trajectory of global events. The operation's success became a testament to the extraordinary capabilities of both human judgment and technological design under extreme circumstances. The mission concluded not with fanfare, but with the quiet satisfaction of precision, coordination, and survival. The submarine and its crew had achieved an objective that could have altered the course of operations along the American coast. Each decision, adjustment, and maneuver had been executed flawlessly, demonstrating the culmination of training, experience, and collective effort. The crew's resilience, skill, and cohesion ensured that the mission's impact would be felt far beyond the immediate theater, leaving a legacy of strategic ingenuity and human endurance that would endure in history.